Hello, I'm San Jose Police Department Public Information Officer Sergeant Christian Camarillo. This community briefing is intended to provide you with information about an officer-involved incident that occurred in San Jose. We are still at the very early stages of this investigation, and our understanding of the incident may change as additional evidence is collected, analyzed, and reviewed. Incidents like this involve a joint criminal investigation by the San Jose Police Homicide Unit and the Santa Clara County District Attorney's Office. The case is being monitored by the San Jose Police Department's Internal Affairs Unit, the City Attorney's Office, and the Office of the Independent Police Auditor. We will walk you through relevant video footage and evidence related to this case so you can have a better understanding of what occurred based on what we know right now. We will not make any conclusions about whether the officer involved acted consistently with our policy and the law until all the facts are known and the investigation is complete. I ask that you use caution when viewing this community briefing and be mindful of young children or sensitive persons who may be watching. What you're about to see may be disturbing. Uses of force and violent confrontations can be difficult to watch. There also may be strong language used by those shown in the video. Viewer discretion is advised. I will now walk you through a timeline of events that led up to the officer-involved shooting and death of Demetrius Stanley on May 31st, 2021, as well as the details of the confrontation that led up to this shooting. The investigation that led officers to the 1100 block of Tofts Drive on the evening of May 31st was an armed robbery and assault with a deadly weapon incident that occurred in March on that same street. On March 12, 2021, Stanley and another person were involved in a road rage incident that was captured on video by an uninvolved witness. During an exchange outside of their vehicles, Stanley approached the other driver, who was a juvenile, while holding a handgun with a laser sight on it. Stanley pointed the handgun at the juvenile victim, and video evidence shows the red dot from the gun's laser sight on the juvenile's head. Stanley then entered the victim's vehicle, rummaged through the center console, and took a replica handgun from the victim's vehicle. This act of taking the property at gunpoint turned this confrontation into an armed robbery. Robbery detectives using the witness video were able to identify Stanley as the person responsible for this robbery incident. A warrant for armed robbery was issued for Stanley's arrest. Detectives also placed information in a law enforcement database directing officers to stop and seize the car Stanley drove during the robbery if they encountered it. On March 26th, deputies with the Santa Clara County Sheriff's Office observed Stanley driving the vehicle used in the armed robbery. Detectives initiated a traffic stop on Stanley. He was taken into custody based on the robbery warrant. The vehicle was impounded and held for evidence. Our robbery detectives responded and interviewed Stanley regarding the robbery. During the interview, Stanley admitted to the armed robbery. He told detectives that during the robbery, he had been armed with a replica firearm. The replica firearm he described did not match the description of the gun that was used during the robbery. Detectives also learned that he was prohibited from possessing any firearms due to a prior domestic violence conviction. Stanley was booked into the county jail and bailed out that same day. Detectives then obtained a search warrant and searched Stanley's vehicle, which was impounded. In the vehicle, they recovered a loaded Springfield XD9 pistol with a red laser attachment, as well as a black ski mask. The black ski mask was found under the driver's seat. The handgun with the laser sight matched the gun used in the robbery. After the pistol was located during the search of Stanley's car, detectives consulted with the district attorney's office, who filed a criminal complaint against Stanley that resulted in the issuance of a new arrest warrant. The new warrant included the additional charges of assault with a firearm and possession of a firearm by a prohibited person. On the night of the officer-involved shooting, 2 undercover detectives were conducting follow-up in plainclothes to confirm details relating to Stanley's residence and whereabouts. One plainclothes officer was on foot, walking on Tofts Drive, when Stanley came out of his home armed with a handgun. The officer on foot heard the recognizable sound of the gun being racked and loaded. Stanley began walking towards the officer while holding a handgun in his hand. The officer on foot immediately ran away from Stanley as fast as he could in order to avoid a confrontation. Stanley stopped, tucked the firearm into his shorts, and walked back towards his residence. As Stanley walked back towards his home, he passed an unmarked vehicle where a second plainclothes officer was seated. The officer knew Stanley was armed and did not attempt to exit the vehicle or confront him. Stanley initially walked past the vehicle with his gun tucked in his shorts. He then walked back directly towards the officer's vehicle. Stanley pulled out the gun with one hand and opened the driver's door with the other. Evidence shows Stanley pointing the handgun directly at the officer. Fearing for his life, the officer fired his weapon at Stanley. This incident was captured by this home security video. The handgun recovered at the scene on the night of the officer-involved shooting was a 9mm. It was unregistered and non-serialized, also known as a ghost gun. It also had an illegal high-capacity extended magazine. The handgun was loaded with a round in the chamber and multiple rounds in the magazine. The undercover officers involved in the incident were not wearing body-worn cameras due to the non-enforcement nature of their assignment that evening. There was no plan to arrest or make contact with Stanley, or to take any enforcement action whatsoever. When our covert officers engage in apprehension and enforcement efforts, per our policy, body-worn cameras are always in use. A joint criminal investigation by the Santa Clara County District Attorney's Office and the San Jose Police Department's Homicide Unit is underway. The case is being monitored by the San Jose Police Department's Internal Affairs Unit, the City Attorney's Office, and the Office of the Independent Police Auditor. This investigation of this case will continue over the next several months. The results of the investigation will then be released by the Santa Clara County District Attorney's Office. The involved officer has 14 years of experience and was placed on routine administrative leave following the incident. Due to the officer's assignment and their safety in that assignment, we will not be releasing the officer's name at this time.